Good things happen in a quiet place, secret place. All righty. Well, does everybody know what today is? Palm Sunday. This is the day that everybody thought it was going to get better. Yes? Okay, it did. Don't worry. Just not the way that they thought it was going to get better, right? He come in and everything was peachy, wasn't it? They had the palm leaves and everybody was all happy because they're going to establish a king. Yes? Absolutely. They're going to establish the king, and it's all going to be funsies, and he's going to put all them Romans out of my way, right? He's going to set them all straight today, ain't he? Well, guess what? He didn't, because they didn't understand who was coming, and they didn't understand yet what had to be carried out. Okay, because you have to know what God was doing from the beginning. And think about this. You had so many wonderful scholars of that time, you know, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the I don't want to sees. You had all those people, right? And they knew all of the scriptures. Like they could quote them from memory. Because like you couldn't be a Pharisee, right? Like a licensed Pharisee, until you could quote the first 5 books of the Bible. Okay, let's, just in case you're not sure. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And somebody like I say, what's on chapter 5, verse 7? Go, Leviticus. But anyways, obviously they didn't have it broke up in chapter and verse back then. But they had to know the scrolls, and that was amazing. And even though, right, we know all of the prophecy that was where he was coming from, right? No, he's coming from Egypt. No, he's coming from Bethlehem. No, he's coming from... Everybody's like, he's coming from over here. He's coming from over there. No, I swear he's coming from here. I know it is. It says right here he's coming. And guess what? He fulfilled them all, right? He fulfilled. He come from all directions. And then he fulfilled the scriptures in ways that we never saw it coming. Yes? And the same thing's going to happen this go-round, okay? Literally. He's going to fulfill them like he did before. We do at least know now, we have this vision that John had that we've been studying in Revelation, right? And they're going to get fulfilled even more and more and more and more and more, all right? We're going to pick up where we left off last week, chapter 7, verse 9. But we know that we have been studying that what? This whole book is about what's to come after chapter 4, right? We know that once we get to chapter 4, this is the things to come. So to those that read this and understand it, it was very specific that you're going to be blessed, right? You're going to find more peace in it. You're going to find more grace in it. And you're not going to be concerned. You're not going to be sad and boo-hooing, right? You're going to say, yeah, that's him, right? When you see him come, say, that's him, okay? And there's going to be many things that's going to try to trick you up, trip you up in the last days. And there's going to be all kinds of craziness. We're going to read some fun stuff here in a minute. It's like, wow. I mean, you really have to wrap your head around it. Sometimes you got to stop for a minute and think, we got stars falling from heaven that aren't stars. They're actually beams, right? Yeah, he explains that straightforward. We're going to have all these plagues, right? You're going to have all the seals open. See, nobody could open the seals, remember? Chapter 5, nobody could do it, and everybody was sad, but Jesus was like, me, right? He walks up, takes the book out of God's hands, and begins to open them. And we talked about the horses and the riders and what their possibilities were. Pretty, the first one's kind of maybe. Number 2, 3, and 4 is we know exactly what they are, right? And it's going to be a tough time and woes for the earth. All right? I thought it was really unique in chapter 7. Let's go there. Let's go to chapter 7 right quick. Let's go up to verse 1. We'll just pick back up there because we didn't make it too deep into 7 last week before we stop. We'll do a little catch up. So at this point, think about these things. At this point, he's done established that there's over how many million were worshiping at the throne? Remember? Anybody remember? 100 million. Over 100 million were worshiping before God at the throne before this occurs, right? And we have, we have 6 seals that have been loosed so far. There's one more to be loosed. It's going to happen in the beginning of chapter 8, okay? So everything that we're getting to read is going to happen between seal 6 and seal 7 that we're getting ready to touch upon. Now, it seems like a lot maybe, but it's important that, I mean, if I told you like, hey, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen tomorrow at work. And it's all written down in this book. And if you'd like to see what's going to happen in your day tomorrow, here's the book. Would you like to read tomorrow? And you'd be like, well, you know, let's just wait and see, right? I don't think any single one of you would do it. I really don't. I don't think you would. I wouldn't. That way I could be prepared and be what? Ready. And you know, in these last days, we are definitely to be, you know, sober and vigilant, right? And the only way that you can remain sober and vigilant is to stay in the Word. Literally. You won't know what's happening unless you read and study the Word. Because the Word is the truth, and the truth is what's going to set you free from what? I mean, like right now, they got this yo-yo deal with the stock market, and everybody's boo-hooing. You know, I got people saying, oh, I lost this much and lost that much, and it's his fault, and it's their fault, and it's our fault, and there's tariffs, and this is nothing. We read in chapter 6 about the earthquake, right? We read that all the green grass of the earth will be gone. Y'all remember that part? Or did you done forget it? It's okay. All the green, you won't have to cut grass no more back there. All right? There'll be no more weed eating. There'll be no more grass, right? Think about that. Every green blade of grass gone. And the 7 trumpets haven't even started yet. And that's where the bad stuff happens. Okay? We're going to read that in just a minute. And I know it's like, wow. I mean, can you think no grass? Like, none. Whole world, no grass. Not one blade. Gone. And then we started in on chapter 7 last week, and we'll read this right quick. That is tiny font for the singers later. And after these things, chapter 7, verse 1, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. It's really unique that they break it down like that for me, because I think of biology class and this and that. And I think about, you know, the apple trees at my house get pollinated by the wind. Bees and insects do some as well, but can you imagine if there was no wind? And I talked a little bit about this last week. Remember, you ever had that balmy summer hot, I call it August day, because the wind still blows in July, it feels like. But you know, this hot day that there's just no wind. It's just like, ugh. There's no shade. You know, you're in that spot, you know, where there's just none. Think about this. Those 4 angels are going to be told, like, no wind. None out of the north, none out of the south, none out of the east, none out of the west. 0 wind. And that's going to goof up a lot of stuff. You know, imagine the ocean waters becoming completely calm. Now, they see this around the doldrums. It's a thing that happens to, it used to happen to ships, obviously, back in the sail days. You know, they were afraid to get in the doldrums because if you got in the doldrums and you hit that, boom, there's no wind there. It's just like, and you would just be floating for days and days. And a lot of times, many of them died there because they couldn't get back to wind. Yeah, so the ships couldn't move. Obviously, we have engines now and things like that that, you know, you wouldn't have thought of back then. But, you know, they got nuclear stuff and submarines and nuclear-powered ships and vessels and diesel-powered ships and vessels. But it's neat to open your mind and think about this stuff. So there's not going to be any wind on the earth, nor in the sea, nor on any tree. Now, it's unique. A lot of people are unaware of this, but this is a little more biology. They have known that green leaves and green grass, right? And if you know much about, familiar with like AstroTurf, like fake grass, right? So if the sun's shining on fake grass, what does it do in the summertime? It gets hotter and hotter and hotter. Maybe if you ever watch like a Major League Baseball game, they'll say like surface temp is 130. You know, they're boom. But it's really unique that God designed this tree or this leaf or this grass, right? And it actually absorbs the heat. And everybody that plays any kind of sports knows that a grass field, a true, real grass field, is much cooler. Even as a child, if you remember back, and maybe now today, you'd lay in the grass, right? There's a reason the dog lays in the grass and not on the porch. He's smart enough to go porch hot, grass cold or cooler. And you're going to imagine all the grass is gone. So it's probably going to heat up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the wind ain't going to blow. Yeah. It's getting real hot, ain't it? Okay? You don't want to be here for that. Just saying. All right. And it says, verse 2, and I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. He was given the power to hurt the earth and the sea. What he's doing is he was given power to bring forth the judgment that God was giving to the earth and to the sea. And he says, well, just for a moment, they say, hey, wait a minute. And it says, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in the foreheads. And we know we're talking about those 144,000 that we mentioned in the last chapter. Now, it's really unique that you think about this for just a second, is because he's straight up telling you, when they tell the wind to stop, it's going to hurt the sea. It's going to hurt the earth tragically. So we're not going to do that just yet, he says, until these others are sealed. And he goes on to say, and I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Now, we read this last week, and there was some uniqueness in it, and it's good to know. But there was 12,000, right, of each tribe that was brought forth. 12 is 144. So we got 144,000 that are going to be sealed with the mark in their forehead. Okay? And these guys are going to go on a tear. Now, I was always of the persuasion, I thought about this. I said, it would be really unique. We got 144,000. They're going to come together. They're going to be in the land of Israel, right? They're home. And these are natural born, right? And you're going to see later that these guys can't be tried because they're virgins. So they ain't going to get tricked with all that mess. And these guys are going to instantly be, boom, converted when they see the truth. Because here's what's happening. No different than when no different than when Jesus came the first time, if you want to say it like that. When he showed up the first time, everybody's like, is it him? Is it not him? And they were having the arguments, right? And they were looking for the Messiah. They were looking for the king, right? And a bunch of them was like, that ain't him. He's pretty cool, but that ain't him. He's pretty good, but that ain't him, right? And because they misinterpreted what was going on, right, and they didn't get it correct, they said, Dad, it's not him. They ended up killing the Messiah, him, which was designed by God. It's pretty neat. And it's like, how were they so blind that it wasn't him? We say that now, right? Hindsight's 20/20. We see looking back. Like, how could you kill the guy? You know he's the guy, right? But it's so unique because the same question can be posed here just in a second when we're going to read. How could you deny him with all this going on? How could you deny the guy? I mean, you're going to see everything that we're reading taking place before their eyes, and they're still going to be like, nope, I won't submit. And you'd be like, oh, I know I would. The reason they're not going to is because God himself is going to send great delusion so they won't. And you're like, what? That don't sound fair, does it? But it's not that he hardened their heart. You harden your own heart. They already went down this road, and they still believe that they can overcome what he's doing. It's happening right now. People believe that they can overcome the timetable of God. People believe that they can overcome what God's doing. Oh, we don't need God anymore. We got AI. I got this new pair of glasses. I can ask it anything. It'll tell me whatever. It can answer any question in the world. I mean, it's really the beast system if you think about it, in a sense. You know, because the beast is what? It's the opposite, or it's the delusion, right, of God, the anti-God, right? It will be able to do everything that God does, but not be Him. It's the false currency. It's like a fake $100 bill. Everything that Satan has to offer is a delusion of the truth. Right? I mean, literally. What's that? Right. But he says that's not good enough. You need what I got. He's offering a counterfeit, which means it's going to look like the real thing. Like happiness and joy and peace and long-suffering. The problem is many of those things, when perverted, bring bondage. Yeah? And fear, unbelief, doubt, right? All those words I just said are the opposite of the fruit of the Spirit. So the same thing's going to happen here. Satan knows his time's running out. So he's going to try and what? He's going to try to set up the one world government fast as he can. Because he knows there is a one world government coming in Revelations 22. Right? Yeah? So he's trying to get ahead of it. Because he is fully persuaded that Jesus is Lord. He just won't admit it. Because he's already seen behind the veil. There's no doubt in his mind who God is. There's no doubt in his mind what he can do. He just knows that he's getting one shot at running the last thing here before it is established by God forever. Okay? So everything you're going to see, he's going to do everything that God does. Yeah? He's going to do everything that God does. Isn't that unique? He's going to bring war before Jesus does at Armageddon. He's going to bring famine before God does. Everything's going to be, you say, well, he's in front of God. Nah, he just knows that his opportunity to rule and reign, this is gone. You see that? Because Jesus came and took the power, right, to death, hell, and the grave, right? And the ruler or the god of this world is who? Satan still got the run of the god of this world. And you say, how can you know that? I'll give you a quick one. The reason I know he's the ruler of this world, I know God didn't send during this time, the age of grace, a storm to kill you. Because I know God didn't come to kill me. Right? Jesus said he came to give what? Life, and life more abundantly. He didn't come to give death and take away. Yeah? He didn't come to destroy you. Okay? So we can see that. All right? So let's keep going. All the tribes. Let's skip down to verse 10. Or no, 9. I'm sorry, 9. That's where we left off. Well, I used a lot of time. Sorry about that. Anyways, verse 9 of chapter 7. After this, I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried. It's pretty neat they had palms in their hands, it being Palm Sunday. Isn't that cool? Anyways, verse 10, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our God, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. Verse 11, and the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces and worshiped God. You know, this is such depiction in my mind, I think, of the cherubims that were at the Ark of the Covenant, you know, the presence of God. And it is just occurring again, just in the spiritual realm. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, verse 12, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our God forever and ever. Amen. Then verse 13 says, and one of the elders answered, saying unto me, I thought this question was really, really unique. The elder knew that John needed to know what those people were. And he says in verse 13, and one of the elders said, saying to me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? So John's having this vision, and the elder looks at him and goes, now this is one of the elders, one of the 24 around the throne, right? And he says, what do you think those are? All those in those white robes, who do you think they are? And that's really unique. And he answers, he does. When Jesus asked a question, there was always an answer that came. And he said, and I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, these are they which came out of the great tribulation. Ain't that neat? He answered it. And have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Verse 15. And know this, that those white robes showed that they had the garment of righteousness salvation on them. Okay? They had been saved in the great tribulation. That itself lets us know that people will get saved during that time period. Okay? Straightforward. Verse 15, therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. Verse 17, for the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and God shall wipe away all the tears from their eyes. These are the guys that were under the throne. You remember earlier? He said he saw them. That were under the throne said, when are you going to avenge us, Jesus? Remember us talking about that last week? When are you going to avenge us? When are you going to go back and take it out on those guys that took it out on us? When are you going to avenge us, Lord? And he said a while ago, he said, it's not time yet. Well, time's here, okay? Here it comes. Let's go on to chapter 8. In chapter 8, verse 1 says, and when it opened the seventh seal, now we're down to the last seal, okay? This is it. The seventh seal is going to contain what? 7 trumpets. That's going to contain 7 thunderings. And a lot happens. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, right? Remember in the very beginning of Revelations, Jesus had 7 stars in his hands. And he walked amongst 7 candlesticks. And you remember he was talking about the 7, 7, and 7, and it was just 7 over and over and over. 7 is quite the magnificent number in the kingdom of God, especially in this time period. Okay? And he says, when he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. Okay, so this is going quickly, right? John's telling you this vision. Just a moment ago, there's over 100 million people worshiping God. Pretty loud. Booming loud. You get 100 million people worshiping God in spirit and truth, gonna be loud. Thunderings and all that stuff was going on too. Loud, loud, loud. But in an instant, when this 7th seal is to be opened, everybody goes, whoop. Now, who has sat in silence to the point that you can hear the silence? Sometimes you'll hear ringing when it's really, really silent and you can't hear nothing. Like those soundproof rooms, you can go in them, and I don't know if you've ever been in one, but you go in a soundproof room and it's just, there's nothing. Huh? There's nothing. It's just, and what's so unique is he said this is going to happen for a half an hour, 30 minutes. Pretty straightforward, right? It's really unique. The contents of what's revealed behind seal number 7 is so holy that everybody goes, I know you probably heard the old term holy hush, right? I've heard preachers pray that. Let's have a holy, but no, this one's going to be because of awe of God's about to be revealed. Not all L, but all A-W, W, 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 W. Oh, man. You know when something happens in your life that's so overwhelming, there's nothing to be said, there's just silence. And it's in those moments that time passes what? Really slow. Yeah? You know when it's really, the focus is hyper focused, and you're just like, man, that seemed like it lasted forever. You know, like the movies, like the last pitch at the end of the game, or the field goal gets kicked, or, you know, it's a moment of truth, and it's like everything's just in slow-mo. And the tension's building because everyone's like, is it good or is it bad? Is it foul? Is it fair? Did it go over the fence or did they catch it? Was it a strike or was it a ball? And it's really unique. This is what's happening. Poof, it's revealed, and it's like, this is it. Get ready. All right. In verse 2 it says, and I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. So each one of them's given a trumpet. Here you go. Get ready. And everybody's like, uh-oh. Because you know what happens when you're down here at the ball field, or you're at a racetrack, or you're at any event in which that they raise the flag and they got the color guard there, right? Everybody said, I know what about that. Guys, this is the Word of God. It's telling us what's going to happen. When the veil's removed, all those guys know what's going to happen. They already know about the 7 trumpets and the 7 seals and the 7 thunderings, and they all already know what's getting ready to come out of the pit. They all know what's about to happen, and everybody's like, okay, it's been bad, but it's about to get real bad for the earth, that is. Okay? It says, I saw the 7 angels stood before him, and they were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came in verse 3 and stood at the altar having a golden censer. This is really unique. You got to kind of pencil this together. The golden censer says that, and there was given unto him much incense, that he would offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. Do you remember earlier that it said the prayers of the saints were a sweet smelling savor unto the Lord in the Bible? Do you remember? And it was talking about that was coming up that he was breathing. It was actually the prayers. It's your prayers and my mama's prayers and everybody's prayers that go up. All right? And they're going to the altar, incense of praise, if you want to say it in a sense. And there they are. And this angel goes over with a golden censer. I should have brought one. Sorry. Anyways, and scoops this up and fires it at the earth. Now that's going to be pretty significant. This is going to come hurling down. Boom, right? And he says that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. In verse 4 it says, and the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer, in verse 5, and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And it's really unique. I mean, these prayers are coming back, guys. The prayers that went up. Those saints were praying earlier, remember? Under the altar. When are you going to avenge us? Those prayers are coming up, and he has now scooped them up. And now here they come. They're fired back, okay? They're being answered. And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel, in verse 7, now, all this happened, remember the 30 minutes of silence? It's kind of like, now it starts, poof. Now, obviously, it's already started. And those saints were the ones out of the great tribulation. This is happening now. And he's like, hey, here we go. And the 7 angels are ready. You know, you've been at a funeral, right? You've seen the color guard, and they get up there and they play taps. 21 gun salute, the whole 9 yards, and everybody knows what's happening, right? What do you do when you know that's happening? You shut up. Now, everybody knows that in heaven, too. When they see those 7 angels and those 7 trumpets, oh boy. And a lot of times, most people jump even though they know what's happening when the guns go off, right? On that 21 gun salute. Everybody, even though you know what they're going to do. The same thing's happening here. Everybody knows what's going to happen. And these signals and these signs are showing what's happening. No different than when Jesus came. And they said, there he is. There he is. They no, that ain't him. The same thing. That's how they're going to know what to do. Okay? Because they've already seen it. They've already read it. They've already studied it. In verse 7 he says, the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees was burned up. All the green grass was burned up, and the second angel sounded in verse 8. And this is happening boom, 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 boom. This ain't something happens and then we wait 6 months. Something happens and we wait a week. No, this is going off. Kapow, kapow, kapow. The trumpet blows, and the second angel sounded, and it was whereas a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. Yeah. Now, you've seen little things happen to where like the algae bloom come in out there on the ocean. They made a big deal of it on the news, and all the fish were dying. And everybody thought it was blood, but it wasn't blood, right? John's giving his description of these things that's happening. And you're going to see these things, and it smothers the fish out. Think of all the death that's starting to accrue on the shore bank immediately. Floating, all this stuff. It's going to start to stink. It's going to start to rot. It's going to be awful. And then verse 9 it says, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. Now, this is pretty neat. I was looking at some stuff here. In 2018, just to put it in perspective, there were 53,000 merchant ships on the ocean in 2018. And I know that China's been on this massive push that they've been building hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds as fast as they can build them. I know that we have as well, all the countries around the world. But back in 18, there was 53,000 merchant ships on the ocean. Take a third of those guys, right? 3 5 is 15. In an instant, you're going to have 15, 16,000 ships are going to gone. So I'm sure there's at least one captain on every ship. So there's 16,000. Like that. Boom, gone. And everybody's like, wow. That's the God you serve, guys. He has that much power and ability. Don't mess with him. Don't treat him like he's just your old pal, old buddy. Yes, he is your friend in a time of need, but he's God. And he's going to end it as fast as he started it. Okay? He is God. He loves you. This time right here, it's such a beautiful time right now. We're sitting in the best time ever on earth. Everybody's like, oh, no, it is. Best time ever. You're so close to him. He lives in you if you're born again. You have a freedom like none other. You have the ability to pray. You have the ability to speak. You have free will, right? Now, obviously, you're going to have free will in heaven too, but the veil will be so removed that you will not choose to go against God, that you will not choose a lie in any manner, okay? So it says the third part of the creatures are dead. Third part of the ships are destroyed. And then verse 10, the third angel sounded, and then fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. All of a sudden, a third part of fresh water is what he's talking to and referring about here. Drinkable water, right? Verse 11, and the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. Now in the Bible you can reference that word bitter. It's poisonous, okay? So a third of the water, right, is going to become bitter. This thing's setting up right now. I've been watching and reading, and some of the wealthiest people in the world are buying up all the water rights that they can get a hold of as fast as they can buy it all around the world. Whether they know it or not, they are taking part in this deal. They think they're going to overcome it, but you're not. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. And then verse 12, it says, and the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten. Now, come on. Y'all been out there and looked at the sun when the eclipse happened? A third of it going to be gone. Ain't that weird? All of a sudden, it puts the sun into perspective that it doesn't rule everything anymore, does it? The sun don't perpetuate everything, does it? Nope, because he's going to take a third of it out of the ball game. Yeah, it's going to get a little bit cooler. That's right. There you go. Now, verse 13. And behold, hold on just a second. Sorry. Furnish verse 12. My apologies. Part of the sun was smitten, and a third part of the moon. That's going to be unique. And the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. This is going to be totally devastating to the earth. Right? Because he said, don't hurt the earth until the 144,000 were sealed in their forehead before, right? And what's going to be so wild about those 144,000 that I was talking, I didn't finish that exactly. But those 144,000, they live there, right? You know, people talk about you need to go to Israel. That way you can experience all the things and where it was and this and that and take part in it. And that would be great. And I'm all for it. Go for it if you can. But it's really unique because these people will know the Word so well, right? Because they lived the Word, studied the Word, they knew the places, they knew the victories, they knew the battles, they knew the history. They've been taught it their whole life. They eat, breathe. Like tomorrow, like today, we're talking about, hey, we're going to tell stories from the pulpit today and all over the country that he come riding in today in the palm leaves, and man, everybody was happy and joyful, and they say, Hosanna to the highest, you know, and all of it was you and all that. They know all those things so well from birth, because they're taught it over and over and over and over and over. I want you to think about somebody that was a Pharisee of the Pharisees, circumcised on the 8th day, right? Was as well versed in knowledge as you could be about the Word at that time. And that guy's name was what? Saul. Remember Saul? Okay. Who had a massive conversion on the road to Damascus. And all of a sudden when he got born again or saved, the word that was in his mind came alive in his heart. And he went on to become the apostle who wrote a third part of the New Testament that worked many signs. And people got saved because they're like, I don't know nothing about nothing, but I just seen that guy do that, so I'm getting saved. It got to be something to it, right? That's the Bible that you have if you go read Acts, yeah? And it's like, wow, that guy. There's going to be 144,000 of them hit the dirt running wide open. That's something to think about, ain't it? There's going to be a revival at that time. It's going to be a wild one. They won't be meeting in buildings because they're going to be blowing them up and killing each other at the same time. They're going to be moving and moving fast. It's going to be quite the time. We've got a few minutes left. We'll finish up here on this one, then we'll pick up next week. And then he says in verse 13, I beheld and heard the angel flying through the midst of heaven. This is wild. So you got all this stuff going on. We're up to, what is this? It's going to be the fourth trumpet, or about to be. Or excuse me, this is going to be the fifth one coming up. We're in between the fourth sounding trumpet and the fifth sounding trumpet. Verse 13, it says, and I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice. Now, just think about it. We have read about a third of the sun disappearing, a third of the moon disappearing, a third of the waters went bitter. You might as well say a third of the population's pretty well waxed off at this point, right? They're dead. A third of the ships got destroyed. A third of the animals in the sea and the fish in the sea, all this stuff's dead, wiped out, killed. And we're down to this part. And then after seeing all that, and the earthquake and the mountain that went flying into the sea and all the stuff that was going on, the major earthquake that brought down probably the majority of the buildings, all the fire, the hailstones, the hail that fell mingled with the blood and all that. I mean, that's going to, you've seen that, and it's like, man, you think of the devastation that brought forth and what's occurring, yet there's still people who will not turn to God. Okay? And you say, how? Well, like I said a while ago, it's because their heart's going to be hardened. Their eyes are going to be calloused, and He's going to send them great delusion. Okay? And then it goes on to finally say this. That angel takes off. He's flying through the midst of heaven. Those 100 million plus people before the throne that were worshiping, that went into a silence, that heard these trumpets start occurring, he literally says with a loud voice, right? Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound. In other words, I know that was all bad, but whoa, whoa, whoa about what's getting ready to happen. Y'all thought it was bad when we lost a third of everything? They're getting ready to blow the fifth trumpet, and whoa, whoa, whoa. Because here is the point. We've went through the seals have all been opened. Now we're into the trumpets being sounded. As the trumpets are being sounded, we're getting ready to come to the fifth trumpet, and that trumpet is when Satan and his demons began to be released. Okay? We're going to talk about the angels that are tied or bound in Euphrates. We're going to talk about the opening of the bottomless pit, and we're going to talk about the creatures that's going to come forth out of it. Do everything that you can to reach anyone that you can is what I'm getting at in these last days. You don't want to miss. You don't want to partake in that. You don't want to be here for that. You want to be one of the 100 million standing up there, right? Or more, because it says they were unnumberable. That was just a guess, okay? Because just in a minute you're going to find out in this next chapter that there's going to be 200 million released in the earth to fight. Now, everybody talks about the 1,000,000-man army, right? That was over in China back in the 70s and that stuff. Think about 200 million coming to fight at the battle. Isn't that neat? And they're all fighting over a little piece of land over in Israel. Now, when I say a little piece of land, there's something important about it because they're going to be fighting over a piece of land, okay, that is no larger than. Anybody been down to the Tennessee state line lately here at Bristol? Been down towards the Pinnacle? Yeah? Right? That piece of ground, if you were at Claypole Hill Red Light, isn't much bigger from Claypole Hill to the Tennessee state line. That's Israel. Huh? All of this greatness is going to come on that ground. That's where it's headed, over that little bitty piece. Must be important to God. Isn't that amazing? Okay. We're going to stop. We'll pick up next week. Let's see. Begin to chapter 9. You guys take a break. Get ready for service. It is Palm Sunday. It's the day that He rode in. Okay. And it's a day to worship. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week. We'll do it again. We'll pick up and keep